In today's video, we're going in depth on something that affects everything you do in the game, your stats. Whether you're building for PvE or PvP, damage or defense, this guide is going to walk you through what each stat really means, how it works, and how you should think about it when building your character. Let's start with the attack side of things. At the very top of your stat window, you'll see something called attack power. This is your base damage, the number that forms the foundation for every hit you deal. Whether it's from a basic attack or a skill, it all starts here. But dealing damage isn't just about raw numbers. You need to hit your target, and that's where accuracy comes in. There are 3 types of accuracy in the game. The first is melee accuracy, which is used by close-range classes like warriors and assassins. If you're fighting up close and personal, this is the accuracy stat that matters to you. Then there's ranged accuracy, which applies to classes like archers. If your playstyle keeps you at a distance, this is the one you'll want to invest in. And lastly, we have magic accuracy, essential for spellcasting classes like sorceresses and priests. If your skills aren't landing, it's probably because your accuracy stat is too low. Now let's talk about skill casting speed. This one's especially important for magic-based classes. It determines how quickly you can execute a skill after you press the button. A faster casting speed can be the difference between getting interrupted or getting that spell off in time to finish a fight. Next up is critical rate and critical damage. These 2 stats are all about maximizing your output. Critical rate determines how often your attacks will land as critical hits, while critical damage increases how strong those crits actually are. If you're building around burst damage or want to finish enemies quickly, focusing on these 2 together can seriously pay off. The game also breaks down your damage types into melee damage, ranged damage, and magic damage. Each of these boosts the corresponding type of attack. For example, if you're a warrior or an assassin, melee damage is going to directly improve your effectiveness. Archers benefit from ranged damage, and sorceresses or priests should be looking at magic damage. These aren't global damage increases, they're very specific. So don't just blindly stack them, choose the one that matches your class. Then you've got skill damage, which increases the power of your skills regardless of whether they're melee, ranged, or magic. It's a more universal boost, especially useful for classes that rely heavily on skills rather than basic attacks. Total damage dealt, on the other hand, is your overall offensive power. It applies to everything you do, making it a strong stat if you want a consistent damage increase across the board. Now, when we move into PvP, the stat system gives you even more specialization. There's total PvP damage dealt, which increases all damage against other players. But just like with general combat, it breaks down further. You have PvP melee damage for close-range fighters, PvP range damage for distance attackers, and PvP magic damage for casters. If you're serious about PvP, these stats are where you get the edge. There are also PvE-specific boosts. You've got bonus damage against bosses, which is especially useful in raids or high-level dungeon content. And then there's anti-killer damage. This one increases your damage specifically against players who are in killer mode or flagged for PvP. It's a niche stat, but really valuable in open-world PvP or gank heavy zones. Before we move on to defense, there's one more offensive stat worth mentioning: status ailment accuracy. This is the chance your attacks have to apply a negative status effect to your enemy. If your build relies on crowd control or debuffs like stun or freeze, this stat is critical. Pair it with your normal damage output and you're not just hitting hard, you're locking enemies down while you do it. Alright, now let's shift into defense stats, where survival is the name of the game. Your main stat here is defense power. This reduces the amount of damage you take from enemy attacks. Simple and effective. But sometimes avoiding damage altogether is even better. That's where evasion comes in. Just like accuracy, evasion is broken into 3 categories. Melee evasion helps you avoid close range attacks. Ranged evasion helps you dodge projectiles or distance hits. And magic evasion gives you a chance to completely evade spells. The higher these values, the more likely you are to take 0 damage from the matching attack type. Then you've got critical resistance, which reduces the chance you'll take a critical hit from enemies. If you've ever felt like you were suddenly wiped out by one massive hit, this stat helps prevent that from happening again. Damage reduction stats add another layer. You can reduce the damage you take from skills, from melee attacks, ranged attacks, and magic. These are percentage-based reductions and stack with your defense stats, so they're perfect for tanky builds or players who want to outlast their opponents. Just like on the offensive side, there are PvP-specific defense stats. You've got total PvP damage taken, as well as reductions for melee, ranged, and magic PvP attacks. These can make a massive difference in duels and battlegrounds. You'll also find boss damage reduction, which helps you survive endgame PvE fights, and anti-killer damage reduction, which protects you from aggressive PvP players. And then we get into status resistance. This is where your ability to shrug off crowd control effects comes from. There's a general status ailment resistance, which helps you avoid all kinds of negative effects. Then there are specific resistances like stun resistance, freeze resistance, and petrify resistance. The more resistance you have, the lower the chance you'll be affected. And even if something does land, the game gives you a way to shorten its effect with status duration reduction, super helpful when you get hit by something like a freeze mid-fight. So, to wrap it all up, every single one of these stats plays a role. Some give you raw power, others give you survivability, and a lot of them can completely shift how your build plays out depending on how you prioritize. Don't ignore your stat sheet, study it, plan around it, and use it to reinforce the strengths of your class and compensate for its weaknesses. If you found this helpful, drop a like, subscribe for more guides like this one, and let me know in the comments what kind of build you're running and which stat you found most underrated. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next